This is Femi Lazarus Plus.
All right. Thank you. Good to have you guys here. Thank you for joining me on this very, very interesting talk show. And I have some giants with me this morning. And of course, this is Femi Lazarus Plus, and where you have conversations unfiltered, from stories to different kind of conversations like this. And one thing you can be very certain of is the fact that your mind will be stretched, your spirit will be edified, and there's going to be a lot of exposition and discoveries as you join me on this conversation today. So with me this morning, I have the foremost BishopShane. He's a man that must not go to any country where there are terrorists, because they will arrest him before knowing that he's a man of God. The beards. All right, so I mean, you can easily mistake him for Osama. Believe me, I'm not roasting. All right. And I also have here the CEO of Audacia, and that's Bright Sekoni. Yes, good to have you with me.
Thank you very much.
And Bright has been doing amazing work in real estate, and BishopShane has been doing amazing work with the media, and these are really phenomenal guys at what they do. And we just want to have conversations. I want us to talk about how this space is, the business space is for young believers trying to break into this space. And I want us to have these conversations unfiltered. All right? Young believers trying to break into this space, particularly considering the fact that most of this space are dominated by people who have vast resources to move around, but maybe not the same moral compass. Don't serve our God and don't do our things, and then they just have their own ways of doing things. What do you want to say about that space for young believers?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the privilege. And thank you for the platform as well.
Thank you.
One of the things I've come to learn over time I've been doing business for close to 15 years now. I've started like way back.
Run us through your journey.
Okay.
Into business, yes.
Yes. So my very first experience with business was buying and selling. I started selling SIM cards at a very, I think I was around maybe 12, 13 then. Actually, my mom didn't allow me to do it, but I used to run out of the house because I always wanted to make money.
12, 13?
Yes, 13 back then. And I always wanted to make money. I sold SIM cards. I went from that to, at some point, I was also a bricklayer. I was selling sand to this, there was a building beside my house that was they were constructing the house. So I started taking a wheelbarrow, with my friend, who pick sand from the gutter.
Wow.
And sell it. So for me, I think from a very young age, I've been very entrepreneurial. So I've always wanted to make money. And I had a background in God. My dad and mom, I've been born again way back. And one of the things I would be very honest, it's unfiltered, is wealth is a subject that is not really talked about in the church. Wealth creation, building wealth. That's number one. Number two is now for the younger generation. So if it's not even being spoken in the church by the elders, who are the young ones to even begin to talk about it? I began to understand that it takes a lot of mindset shift to be able to accept that you can begin to do well as a young Christian. Those are two words, young and Christian.
Wow.
Yes, sir. So
it takes a lot of mindset shift.
Yeah, it's an entire rewriting, because when we look at people that excel in business, we see that they are not actually spiritual. They don't speak in tongues. They don't read the Bible. They just have work ethics. They are very creative. They know how to move with the tides of the industry. Times are changing. One of the things I've come to understand about believers is we are very laid back in moving with times. Yes. When I started in real estate back then, one of the ways I knew I could leverage the market was to begin to teach for free. So I started
teaching for free.
Yes. So I've been mentoring from way back. Even before I had money. I used to call myself money mentor.
Before you had money?
Yes, before I had anything, no evidence, no nothing. But I'd always known that to raise a generation, you have to impart them with knowledge. So I've been doing that in my own small way. And over time, I just started doing that for the church. And I discovered that it's just a mindset. Our God is a creator. I like to say that our God is the first entrepreneur, actually. He created systems and structures in place so that the world can run automatically. So I believe that every believer should also be able to create a system for wealth, a system for riches, a system for discipline. You know, there's a place for the spiritual life. God has blessed us. There's also a place for the earthly blessings where if you put in value, you get paid for it. God doesn't pay you for, I saw a joke online about this favor song. I said, no matter how long you sing it for, money is not going to drop. And that's the honest truth. You still have to go out there.
Hey, you are shouting. You are shouting.
You still have to go out there and put in the work. Because you're a Christian doesn't exempt you from the hard work. Because you're a Christian doesn't exempt you from excellence.
Wow.
A lot of Christians want to speak in tongues and have their way around things. It doesn't work that way. I like to say something. You pray as hard as you work, and you work as hard as you pray.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, my God, this is a lot of track record. And it's good to hear.
Yes, sir.
Particularly, I've been quite concerned with the fact that, and in fact, if you hear my teachings, you might almost feel that is apostle anti-favor, all right? Because I understand the balance. That favor is a multiplier, and if it comes on nothing, it multiplies nothing.
Yes, sir.
But there's a part of this because you too, you've been running shows,
Yes, sir.
and programs,
Yes, sir.
since way back.
Yeah, 15 years.
15 years.
Yes.
Can you run us through the journey?
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. It's a privilege to be here.
Thank you.
All right, so I remembered when I started. So for me, I grew up in the background that is not really exposed to things like this. I mean, the kind of church I grew up from is not exposed to this kind of things. And I remember the first time I was going to have an event, 2009.
Wow.
I wrote letter to invite people. I wrote it with pen. Just wrote it. Even sponsors and everything. I wrote every letter.
Wow.
And, I went to people's house to give them and all. I did poster way back then, black and white, posted it myself and everything.
And I want the media to show us a bit of his programs. He's been doing phenomenal works across the country.
Thank you, sir. So it was photocopy and I did everything. So if after the event, we had the event, that church, we used to do church board meeting. In fact, the church board meeting was in my house. So they came to my house and said, "You are coming to disgrace us. You didn't carry us along. We didn't know." So when we had the event, we had overflow. People came from everywhere and everything.
Wow.
But it caused a problem. And what was the problem? Some people came with chain, very conservative church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people came with, look at some guys' nails and everything. They had that meeting in my own house and my family were telling me, you disappointed us, this, that. I was crying because I just did this thing. Because
What was the program about?
It was a concert.
Wow. Like a music concert.
A music concert.
Wow.
And in fact, the church does not allow drums and everything. So we didn't even use drums and everything. We just did a cappella and some with keyboard and everything. No noise and everything. That went. So that was supposed to discourage me, but trust me, I wasn't discouraged. If I say some things I had to do, going for it, I will fly our fence, just jump over the fence, go out for different... Because there was someone that was doing exactly what I wanted to do in Akure then. So I decided to volunteer for him. So I was with him. In fact, our church pastor one time told me, "I will curse you if you still go to meet this person." Wow. It was as serious as that.
Is it like the person is someone that is living a notably wrong life?
Never. To date, was living a good life. But it's just that it was not our own belief as of that time. Because, when you use drums and use everything, you're like a sinner. Yeah, you see that.
Wow.
So, and this guy does all these things, use the drums and everything. So, I will have to fly the fence. We had a maid. I would just tell her, open the gate at so time. I would just sneak into the room and pretend I've been sleeping when I come back the next day because always a Thursday night meeting. It's just for prayers. We do prayers and we rehearse for his event. So that came and, we did that. That was supposed to discourage me. And I can tell you the number of people that kind of settings are discouraged and they are nowhere to be found now.
Yeah. And that's one thing. If care is not taken, the religious system can become the cemetery of visions.
Yeah,
Very correct.
In fact, let me quickly jump to one because of what you said. There was someone I invited for my meeting back in Benin. I do event everywhere. A minister, correct girl, came to minister. And that time she was telling me that because she was doing hip-hop kind of music. And at that time, she told me,
Pop in terms of genre.
pop, yes, in terms of
But a Christian song.
song. I mean, and she told me what she was facing at that time because she was attending a church, which I will not mention, and she was facing. And I told her, I said, just put, you go to all these things. Now today, I think I was sharing with somebody. I can show you a picture. She's fully into the word. I mean, she's almost wearing bra and everything just to
She
fully
succeeded.
full time because I still have her contact today. She still send me broadcast messages. I don't really open, but sometimes when I just see her, I see her on Instagram. I say, God, solid girl at that year.
I think one of the things that I can speak from experience is that the church is barely, and these are conversations I feel we are not ready for. We are not always usually ready for disruptions.
Yeah.
And then there is this also pseudo pride, that the assumption that God must consult you if he's doing something new.
Yes.
And you mentioned something that people will not ride with the tides of time.
Yes, sir.
And because we're not too good with that, we've lost brilliant minds.
Yes.
sir.
We've lost amazing people that God is a God of variety. All right. The Bible talks about the wisdom of God in its innumerable aspects. And because we are just fixed on one.
On one, yes, sir.
And if there's something,
Manifestation.
I mean, I have people that were expelled from their churches for things like speaking in tongues.
Yes, I happened to
Sir,
my church.
I was expelled from a church
It happened.
because I was always talking about business and money.
It happened.
I was literally like, the pastor actually stood on the altar and, instead of reading
Called you out.
Bible, I'm always reading books on business and money and all of that. And today, when I look back, I'm just wondering if I listened, because most of my friends are still there and they are winning souls. But Papa, you mentioned something in one of the services. You said that the devil doesn't target just any person. He targets those that have the influence. So I just knew that I was made for something more. And, when you have this kind of words, because there's a place of honoring them as spiritual, God sent, but there's also a place of also understanding your assignment. And some of, like I said, balancing with tides. We might not know when to switch. There's a Gen Z, very good example. You were mentioning now the hip hop. I also ran across a particular guy on Instagram, also rapping, but Christian music, solid, dressed properly, and I followed him immediately. I was very inspired, and I'm like, this is kind of person we should push out there. Yeah. There's a market. I understand there's a place of slow songs and all of that, but there's a market that
Call it tempo music.
Tempo music, yeah.
Yes, tempo music. There's a market that would want to listen to that. Also for business, people would be more inclined to a young guy who is doing well, who is not into fraud. I used to make a boast about that. I can go to any country. I've been invited to different news. It's joy for me to say that I'm doing quite good without defrauding anyone at a very young age. And I feel it's something that everyone out there should also, want to be a part of, especially Christians, because like I said, we're the light of the world.
Can I add to what you just said?
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, if we don't give them that platform, people are outside. They are ready to think.
Ready to embrace them.
And I'll give you an example. So after all those blah, 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 everything, I had to go to another place to be doing the event. And one time, a man reached out to me because we're trying to make him sponsor one of our events. And he said, guy, come. I have a hall. I have sound. I have light. Can be running your monthly meeting. Because that time I was doing monthly events every month. And I said, okay, no problem. I mean, it came very good. No terms, nothing. Just come to do your event. Though the place was a club because it's now closed down. It was a club. But he said, no, you can be using it on Sunday for your event. And I said, no problem. And I went there. We did the first edition. Awesome. In fact, they will even give us money for doing events. We did this. Yes, now we did the second edition. Awesome. No issue. So when he got to the third edition, he said, this thing they are doing, he said, don't you think I also be involving Muslim? I mean, other religions, bring them on board. We do it together and everything. I said, no, we can't do this. He said, we are serving one God. In fact, this man built a church. I mean, so he said, we are serving one God and everything. I said, no, we won't do it. So he allowed me. The next time we're going to do it, he gave us the space and everything, but he didn't give us money. I knew something was about to happen. So they thought that he now said, if we can do all the religions, let everybody come, don't let us be segregation, we can't say this one. Everybody are serving one God and everything. So I was to have a program where he did the publicity and everything. a week to the event, he told his PA that the PA should reach out to me that you did not put this picture on the stuff, you didn't put this, you didn't put this, and that means you will not be able to do the program. And I said, fine, we will not do it. I had to get another location even after. So we just did it anyhow. We went to a school, used a classroom, no sound, nothing, but just for us to have the event. Just because of the conviction I had then that this can't be. So what I'm driving at is that there are people outside that are waiting for those talents, they're waiting for those gifts to dilute it. And if they are not convinced enough, they will fall for it because they just need the platform to express themselves. And even there are some that even say that they are pastors and they are not really who they project themselves to be. No, that's the truth. They project that this is who they are and everything. They have all the resources you need. It's until when you enter there, when you are with them and everything, you now start seeing the kind of...
I'd like to mention something here.
Yeah.
So I am quite very... I'm not going to use the word popular, but I have some good influence on social media, and I've had quite some leaders of church reach out to me and ask questions. And from the questions I ask, I just know that if you're leading a lot of people, there's a problem. You know, they begin to ask questions like, oh, how do you get your followers? How do you get your this? You know, for me, yes, you know, I have a marketing team, actually. Yeah, I have a marketing team. So I'm always like, oh, I have a marketing team and all that. Like, oh, but there's something. What of that person that you are with? How does that? You know, there's this competition in the. So when you mentioned that's yes, good. And you, sir.
Go ahead.
You know, I've had several conversations with people. You mentioned in someone recently, you said that there's some people that they default to pastoring because they failed in life. And
you are shouting.
I've encountered quite some people, and it's quite disappointing to the body of Christ, actually, that these people have the microphone. And let me give you a good example. When you begin to follow people like this, the first thing that comes to your mind is that the only way to be successful is to be a pastor. And I feel that is a very wrong mentality. In fact, you are our father, and you always say that you have your microphone at every stage you are, you know, in whatever industry you're in. I'm in real estate. There are ways I am propagating. I know how many people are influenced to come to church by just the influence. They want to speak to me. They want me to mentor them, come to church, you know, and all of that. So I think that if we become more vocal, if we take advantage of social media, if we take advantage of, you know, the platforms that are out there, and we are very vocal, I think we would begin to make a lot of change.
We'll be able to save a chunk of a generation. Now, you've touched a major pattern, which is where I'm going to next. You've gotten to some junction in your industry, whereby probably you needed to scale. And now the people who are like the gatekeepers don't know God. And what's that junction like? And how should young entrepreneurs go about that? Let me give you another breakdown of that. Maybe like you need to see someone. These are conversations we've had. So it's like I'm putting you in the spot. All right, so maybe you need to somebody who is a mentor, someone who is doing some stuffs out there. But now you have to meet this person, maybe at the club, stuffs like that. What's the mentality in that space like? Then how should a young entrepreneur see himself, and how do you navigate that complexity? And we got about the same thing for the media world.
Okay. So I'm in a very interesting industry, the real estate industry. And to get to the top, you know, you have to, like you said, gatekeepers. They have to know your name, and they have to have associated with you. This is the sport anyway, but last year I stopped going out at late nights and all of that after I had an instruction that there are ways that I can meet these people that I do not have to necessarily bend to
your standard.
I had to get to a level to do that. I began to understand that I had to become who I am today to be able to get them to bend to some extent.
Because I needed to say something about that. Without growth, you can't negotiate.
Yes. Yes.
It has to be at a level of mutual respect.
Yes.
If you are not growing, you have convictions.
Yes.
Yes, it's okay. You should have convictions at every level.
Yes.
But it takes a measure of growth also
Evident growth. Yes.
for... I don't want to be misunderstood. Because at some point, in an attempt to negotiate, you can just be thrown out completely. A believer should be willing for that to happen, if need be. That's suffering for Christ. But there is a point you get to that the people who would have called to those odd places know what you are.
Yes.
They need you, and now they can bend. It's because it is on the basis of value, not on the basis of religion.
Yes. So let me go mention something towards this. So for example, I discovered that to get access to these people, I had to also show that I had content. Yes. So I am always around these people. I'm not going to. God has blessed us, and I know how much God has done for me in a short period of time. There's no industry leader in real estate in Nigeria that doesn't know my name. I can say doing very well. And why I'm able to say that is because I'm not going to say that it's a place of result. I want to say it's a place of networking and also...
And that's vital.
Yeah. Yes, and also leaving a statement or an impression behind. I always leave an impression that you want to come and talk to me again. So it's beyond just buffing with knowledge. It's also very good. It's also kind of providing a space that you need me for something. Because you see, the top I've met with billionaires. I'm talking about billionaires. The club we talk about. Yes, sir. I go to clubs and people I'm talking about well-to-do corporate individuals are spending hundreds of millions in the club.
I mean, put that in context. So someone says, hey, he goes to a club, you see that? More like, and that's what we're talking about. Many times, because you need to understand the psychology of that space.
Yes,
you want to have access. Someone said, come and say at so-and-so's place. All right, so it's on that basis. Continue.
Yes, so it's on that basis. So you go there, and I think it's also strategic because they want you to see the lifestyle. Yes. Also, you go there, you meet varieties of women. So they also want you to know that you have access to anything if you can be a part of it.
If you can join us. So it's more like a form of seduction.
Yes.
Like, see, this is what we do with money. We ball with money.
Yes. And to get it, you have
I was listening to one of the testimonies of the guy that was with Diddy in America, and talk about when they were having some of those their in-house parties. And Diddy just came around. I said, what kind of women do you want? You want Costa Rican? You want Brazilian? You want Mexican? Right. You want Black American? You want... More like they are showing you there's nothing in this world we cannot give you. Imagine someone coming and saying, and maybe you are a young business owner who has not dealt with such cravings and appetite. And here is someone, a mentor you look up to. And if success is what you're pursuing, hey, this guy has all the success. In quote now, because usually it is until water fetcher strikes the well bottom before you know how deep it is. All right? But here you're seeing it. This guy has the cars, has the houses, and now any kind of woman. And that's how people are lured to that. And that's why I feel the church needs to understand that it is the average believer in church that we are to train to go face the devil outside. Because many of the things you say are abstractly, the place of the reality is out there.
Yes, sir.
I remember one time I was in a retreat with some of my friends. One of us was going to travel to America, relocating. So we just, let's just pray together. And one of those nights, we said, let's go get something to eat. Let's get a good eatery and then let's just eat and then eat out and come back. First, we were in the house of a popular figure, billionaire. All right? The house of the billionaire. All right? And his son was confused. And we kept asking my friend, like he's never seen that kind before, like, you guys... Yes, you praying, say yes. No girls? Say no girls. You don't? Say, no, we don't. no drinks. Say no. We pray, we study, and say, are you guys not bored? No, we are not bored. So I remember that none of those nights we went to Lekki. We went get something somewhere where driving back, there's some girls just gathered around the car. And maybe because we're driving an SUV, and like they were describing what they can do. And there I was seated and saying, what's the hope for the guy who has not met God?
Mm-hmm.
This life is just going to sink him deeper, you know. And this is what happens in business world. Someone says, okay, you want to see me? Mm-hmm. Come see me at so-and-so club. It's money, women, drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk. But hey, have your own share now. And how do we navigate that? How do young believers navigate that? For you, your first experience around that, how was it? Have you experienced that before?
I have, sir.
All right.
I have. And I fail.
Yeah?
I actually did.
See, this is an unfiltered
Yes,
conversation.
unfiltered. So, but back then I was still smoking.
We're naive.
Yes. So I was still getting into the industry, and one of the things I understood was you have to please these people. These people can go to any length to make your name not heard. Yes. That's how. Sir, when I say we have to be industry leaders, I know what I'm saying. Yes, because there are voices that you do not know where they're coming from, and they're speaking against your brand, against your hard work and everything. And there are some that you there's not even hard work or anything, but their name is everywhere. You know, so I understood that very early, and I had to get access to it. I can remember one of those times where I was going to close a particular deal in Lekki. First things first, I've been living in Lekki for 5 years now, and that place is like it's Sodom. There's access to anything. Anything. And I think that's the very first thing is to take yourself out of such environment, you know, because access to anything and you have the finances, you go lengths.
You have access to anything, then you have the finances.
If you have the finances.
It's not taking you go lengths.
Because that's the thing. They introduce you to that life, but they don't tell you how to copy. They don't tell you that it's an escape route that doesn't end. Yes. Most of them, they have problems, business problems, and the way to solve it is to go to the club and party hard and get drunk and use drugs and any woman they want, you know. That's the way they use. So I was there and he offered, you know, it was weed then. And I was like, I think then I'd not really known how to. That was maybe 2019, 2020, you know, and he offered it and I'm like, how much do you want to give me? And 25 million. 25 million. Then I just finished NYSC.
Guy.
I was in debt then too.
My God.
Yes, I did Forex. Very nonsense.
That thing can take clothes from someone's neck.
You know, you see, Christians, I'm going to say something, a story after this. But let me. So I took it and I closed the deal. And I'll be honest with you, it was way down from there. Yes.
Way down.
You
kept going down.
Yeah, I went every debt.
My God.
Every debt. We have had conversations.
I get that.
So yes, but one of the ways I've been able to bring myself back up is because, sir, I'll be honest with you, to recover from this, you also have to, because right now it takes the fact that I don't want to say I am there yet, but I've come to understand that if you don't play by their terms and you're not excellent, you will lose in both ways.
Yeah.
In every way.
In every way.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yes.
You know, there's a way to fight such battle. Number one, you're not going to dance to their tune. But number two, you now need to have the audacity to pursue. Because now you're going to take a lonely path.
Yeah.
Very lonely.
And every attempt will be made to shut you down because they don't want anybody to follow your footsteps and ignore them. More like they run an empire.
Yes, sir.
And we want to, by all means, prove to people that if you don't play by our rules, you don't rise. You have refused to play by the rules. Now you are going through a path. They will do everything internally to shut you down. So it takes some spice of stubbornness and audacity, then excellence to break through. Because that's what we call a pathfinder. You are trying to trail the blaze and blaze the trail for others so that now they can
also
find that path and follow through. right? If you had to go through the pressure where someone you look up to in business, you had to go see that person in a club.
Yes.
And you went way down.
Yes.
Now, God brought you out.
Yes.
Now you're on the path, still successful.
Yes.
Another young person who wants to see you as a mentor will not have to go to club,
Not have to go, yes.
or rather come to either see you in your office
Yes.
or church.
Yes.
That's it. And that's why the battle is that fierce.
So
We're going to be back to the story you want to share, but let's.
So I want to add to what he just said. I think number one, know the reason why you're even going into the industry
in the first place.
in the first place, and have it.
I went into making money.
Actually, because you went into to make money.
The first, yes,
but
first
I mean, for a believer, you need to know the reason why you are entering into it, and it can be so that you can choose purpose over profit. You know, it's very, very important because I remember something happened last year. I did a job for someone. Because, one of the things I'm going to say is also that before make yourself, how do I say it now? Be sure you are valuable so that those people will need you. Then, like what Apostle had taught us, start your track record early. Start building. Start building stuff from. I mean,
you
early
kill
enough.
your lion and bear before you fight Goliath.
Before you fight Goliath, and that's the truth. So so I did something for someone. Yes, I've been doing events. I do conferences and everything. People know, and it's becoming a platform that people can just come into to do whatsoever they want to do. So I did something for someone back where I was before, and someone saw it on the media. The person reached out to me, my DM, and I was happy. I said, this is a guy that everybody is looking to connect with and everything. We started talking. Okay, what do you want me to do? When are we going to do it? I will tell you, I will do it, don't worry. So we started talking. So one day just reached out to me that he's coming to Ibadan. That he wants us to meet up and everything. Yes, I went to meet him. So he went to do something. Normal stores, worked on his hair and everything. Then after a few days he called, he said, Alpha, I'm coming to Ibadan. I'm organizing a party for my girlfriend's mother, a married man. Girlfriend's mother, how? He said, so I said, girlfriend.
That's deep.
And he's using a very good I know how much girlfriend's mom. I said, okay. So I looked I thought about it. I said, what time? He said, maybe from 7 p.m. and blah, blah, we have to go there and everything. And this is a guy I really need. He's a guy that can sponsor 3 of my events once without thinking about it and all those things. I thought about it. I thought, what it has helped me, and I will be sincere, is that it's not because I'm that, but anytime, let me just say this, that I remember if I go to this place and somebody around Apostle sees me, but that's just it. So, I mean...
And you see, in retrospect, that's also an advantage because that's why it is good to be known for something.
Yes, sir.
Known with something.
I was going to
say
that.
I just felt because
you have a fresh around that.
Yes, about this because I was going to say how I got myself out of it because like I said, I'm quite influential. So some of the people that will see this, they will know that these things I'm talking about 2 years, 1 year ago. But how I was able to go? First things first is I noticed that since I started associating myself, in all honesty, there was a particular time I had I'm going to say I had a meeting somewhere like a lounge, something club. And I was there and something happened. There was an argument and
I know that story.
Yes, I told him. And there was an argument. It was in Ibadan.
Yeah.
And we excused ourselves and all that. And so I was dragged online.
Really?
Yes. I had 4 or 5 people come and comment. I used to see you as a role model. I used to see you as a this. I can't believe that you were involved in an argument with someone that can't even do. For me, what was hurting was I didn't even know that anyone would know me in a situation like so. When you are out there, when they know you with something, they would definitely always. Yes,
that was what helped me. I said, okay, because so many times this thing has saved me, and I know that people know that this person is connected to this person is connected to this person. It's very easy. This person is connected to this person. And so another thing that I knew I was not going to go. I spoke to my wife. I said this now she will not even allow your wife. I said, no, you can't. So I didn't go, and the relationship started to drop and everything. But what I'm saying here is that number one, be excellent at what you do.
Yeah.
See, that was one thing that even gave birth to the conference I do, because I felt like you can't be a Christian and be a mediocre.
No, you shouldn't.
You can't be a believer and not be excellent at what you do. I mean, so this is a platform. I mean, we've got a platform that you need to show, because the people out there, they are very excellent at what they do.
Very good.
Someone is going to release a song. The person might have been on the song for 2 years. Doing something. So once the thing is coming out like this, you won't even have choice. Another thing is, I shout. No, I shout. I'm a noisemaker when it comes to what I do. I don't mind.
You make your own noise.
Make your own noise, because nobody is going to do the shout for you.
Yeah.
No one will shout your shout.
Yeah.
The way you will shout it, nobody. So, those are the things I would do. So because of all those things, I get different people come. And another thing is this. When you want to choose, I'm going to tell people, when you want to choose your role model or anything, don't choose a role model because of what... Okay, let me just say it the way it's unfiltered, because you feel like the person is a Christian, because there are churchgoers. I mean, I have people that I know that, I was talking to someone very close to me, and I asked, who's a role model? When the person mentioned the name of the person, I mean, the person is a gospel singer. And I said, oh God, you might be saying this thing and not have the life. So you can't follow someone because this person is saying, and one of the way...
Do you have the life?
Do you have the life? How will you know if this person you are following is not following anybody? This person is not answerable to anybody. Nobody can... You cannot say this is... I mean, I'm talking to believers, so you understand. You cannot say, okay, this is my... This is my... I mean, the person you are following, because I have different people like that they project... I mean, they go to different... I have friends that, I have friends that are gospel music artists and everything. So they go to where they invite them to, they do all those things that they are doing. I won't say minister, I will say perform.
Okay.
That's a deep...
No, I would say, I would say it's not. Because outside...
It's not.
It's not, you're someone that doesn't even respect anybody. So you are being paid to come and perform. So that's the truth. They're being paid to come and perform. So I tell them, I said, I told the guys that this person wants to make a room with them. Why do you want to do? Because you want to blow. And that is why I said you need to know your purpose first. You need to know the reason why you are doing what you are doing. Because if you don't know, you choose the profits over the purpose. Anything that shall can make money for you. If I go blue,
let me chip in something with this purpose of profit. So something happened recently. I've been on a deal. I've been on a deal. It's a very huge deal. We're talking about $200,000. Yes, and I was paid cash for that deal. And I was supposed to acquire a property and develop the property for the particular client. And I discovered that particular property had some documentation issues. And I called more than 5 to 6 of my developer friends and asked, what do you do when you're in this situation? And everything I had was, go ahead. You have to do it. You have to just do something. You have to. You cannot return the money. You can.
So that the owner of the property begin to face the problem.
So the owner of the so I just make my profit and sir, you see, one thing about my organization I've come to understand is I deal with a lot of learned people. There are a lot of real estate companies out there that sell to people that are not educated. You see, mine, I deal with people that have lawyers. I deal with top, educated. You are dealing with.
It sounds like you're marketing something there. It's all good.
Why I'm saying that is because I can't be mediocre in my services. I am not permitted to be mediocre in my service. And when I understood that, I spoke to you about it, and it was I had to return that money. Yes. So before I might have not returned the money because I probably didn't have someone that
that's so much
would
wisdom.
Instruct me. Yes,
that's so much wisdom because you are going to earn trust.
Yes.
That will, when a bigger opportunity shows up, they will be able to say, if it's not good, he won't do it.
Yes.
And then looking at his track record, we can trust him. Sometimes not all losses are really losses. Yes. They're going to come back as bigger profits.
True, sir.
So, I mean, these are very important conversations and all that. So the entrepreneurial business space, let me use the word, it's a very deep water.
Yes, ma'am.
Very deep water. And what will you advise be for young believers who have already probably looked up to some wrong mentors and are now caught in the wrong web? How do they come out?
Okay. So I was going to mention a story, so I can start with that. Yeah. So it happens to be one of my good friends who attend our church.
Yeah.
So called recently and was crying on the phone. And why were you crying? Because she was duped.
Hey.
Yes, she was duped. She invested money with someone that she hasn't met before, doesn't know where the person is, doesn't know the office.
Yeah.
Now this is she's my investor. She has invested
Wow.
with me before.
Wow.
But apparently this offer seemed way better,
More juicy.
than so. And she put all her life savings. Now this is what I want to bring out. She now made a statement after. She said she feels stupid. She feels bad because she just paid her first fruit. I want to believe that a lot of believers believe that when they give money to a church or when they sow a seed, they think there's this
Things must automatically go right.
Money must flow because I've sown all the money in my account.
Wrong doctrine.
Wrong doctrine. If you don't offer value, you can't get paid for the value. Now, back to, so what are the lessons that I would say if you're already in this? First things first, there's a wealth that comes with peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a firm believer of that.
Absolutely.
And I know what peace of mind is.
Absolutely.
I've been in some deep waters, but I don't want to ever be there. It's not worth it. So that's the first thing you ask yourself. Do you want profit with peace? If you want profit with peace, you just choose what's right. What's right is not always very interesting. It's not always very straightforward. In fact, it's not simple. It took me years to build. My Audacia is not even my first real estate company. So I had to fail too. So as a Christian, failure is permitted. You have to always keep, trying.
Learning curve.
Yes, it's a learning curve. So you're not, if you think you're in deep waters, for example, when I started my business, I started with 30 million naira loan, 30 million naira debt from the Forex because I collected people's money and was doing businessman with it. Very unwise decision. And I had to pay all that money back. And from that angle, I already learned that because I even paid the money back, I already gained trust. So that's the thing. So it's a circle. You don't collect people's money and not deliver service. It's disservice to yourself and your future. Because, for example, I was selling shoes and I know that there are people that bought my shoes that are still buying real estate from me till today.
Wow.
Yes.
What was the shoe brand called?
It was Akube.
Akube.
Akube. I was selling fairly used shoes.
Akube already suggests that there's
I was selling fairly used shoes, London refurbished shoes.
I mean, one of our pastors, he was selling it. He had a shoe brand. They call it Coca. Is it Coca now? That's PTA now. But he will go to Kutodo.
I will travel to Banana.
When they buy all those things, I'll be the first selection. Okay, all right, this one. Yeah, fuck it, right? Okay. Put it aside. I mean, there's always a place to start from.
Yes, there's always. So I just knew from there. So if for people out there, Christians, don't be mediocre. Don't choose mediocrity. We can be very spiritual, but we have to put in the work. And the world is changing. The social media is a new thing. You can't be. I used to say something. A lot of people use terms to explain mediocrity. For example, you say you're an introvert and you are shy. I'm just wondering. It doesn't add up.
Don't justify it.
Yeah, you can't justify failure. So you have to be out there. What your industry right now? Who's excelling in your industry that has peace? That has peace. That's like the most, because the people we think are really doing well, when you go close and you don't wish for what they are going through most times. You don't.
You don't wish for what they're going through when you go closer.
You said something in the sermon. You said, don't just look at the result, look at the cost of the result.
Yeah.
You see, that a scale dropped from my eyes.
At what cost?
At what cost? You see, so I'm in real estate. I see someone doing skyscrapers, and at what cost?
Right, so let me add to what you just said. I think if you've been, you're into that stuff with them now, you're looking for a way to come out. You don't come out by shouting. You don't come out by using strong head. Strong head will not do anything. One of the things that will help you is growth. Add value to yourself. That's one of the things that will help you. It's not like, oh, you want to shout this, grow. And that's number two. Then be the best at what you do. Recently, I just found out that, okay, this thing I've been doing it for 15 years and everything. Now, I really want to be a producer. And, I went to check. I saw that we don't really have people that are believers that are doing this thing at that level. And like what you said, I had to reach out to someone that I know that's doing well in this thing and is a believer. I reached out to him and I said, this is, and he told me some things. And I said, okay, fine. I'm ready to go this route. And I mean, adding the knowledge of the word, and I'm still. And number two, like I said, shout. I used to say something. Nobody watch movie because of the people behind the scene. Watch a movie because of the people behind the scene. No, nobody. It's because of this is the actor. It's because you know them. That is why you want to watch the movie.
Yes.
So don't go and say, I don't like, I just want to be behind the scene. Nobody that will help. You just be behind the scene and behind the scene and behind the life. So the truth of the matter is you have to bring yourself out there. You know, like Apostle used to teach us, I used to say that the courageous will always lead the gifted.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
At a particular point, either you are gifted or you are not gifted, it no concern anybody. It does not matter. It's if you are courageous. And if you don't stand out now, if you don't do what you're supposed to do now, if you don't stand out now, you'll find out that you'll even be a mentee to the courageous. And you are the gifted, you know it well. But you find out that this person that is courageous, you just find out that you are just behind the person. It's not wickedness, it's nothing, it's the way you have placed yourself. So I want to say that if you have been into this stuff, add growth, add value to yourself, go for the best stuff, make noise, and live well.
Because you're always going to need those doors.
Yeah, you will need the doors. Don't break it. Live well. Live well. Because one day, see, I mean, I've led a lot of our apostles. There are no permanent enemies. That's the truth. Fine, you don't owe everybody relationship.
Yes.
Definitely. You don't owe everybody love. I mean, you owe everybody love, but not relationship.
Yes.
So you can have issues with somebody, but don't break. Because one day you are still going to need, and both of you, the truth of the matter is both of you will still meet at the top. But you are coming with your own conviction, a believer and everything. They might be coming, but you are still going to meet at the top. So that is the best way to live.
I mean, this is a very interesting conversation. And because these are things of, these are like don't tell stories in the sense that there are cases of if you know, you know.
Yes, sir.
More like when you get to the bridge, you cross it yourself. And many young entrepreneurs have only got into such junction only to be shocked at what they were seeing and hearing and as the protocol of those places. And I want to believe that, you know, any young person who is aspiring, you just feel you're different, that there's more to you than just, you know, the conventional stuff. And then you call to media, call to business, you see yourself in these spaces. I mean, so much has been said today. And if you're not even at the point where these things are a reality yet in your experience, you've heard from those that these things are a reality, how to scale through the phase where no one believes in your vision. Every vision believes in seed state. People can trample on it, march on it.
Yes.
But it gets to a point, becomes a tree that nobody can march on, begins to bear fruit that people want to pluck from. These are phases of visions. And, you know, you get to a point where the gatekeepers negotiate with you. Either join us or we trample on you. And if you are going to say, okay, I'm not going to join you, then you must not just, it is very good to do that, but it is not enough. It is also important that you have what it takes to survive.
Yes, sir.
So you don't be part of the defeated kings, your own niche, you know. So, I mean, what story will it be if Goliath will return with David head? There are Goliath organizations. They've been there before you were born.
Yes.
And we're going to face these guys, you know. So it is important you know how this works. And I want to thank you, Bright, and thank you, BishopShane, for joining me on this very important conversation. I am going to have both of you back again. But let people first, eat this first, and then, we're going to come back. You can drop questions in the comment section, which is going to also help us in the area. We'll go when next I bring them here. Thank you once again for joining me out of your busy schedules. I'm so grateful. And have a great time, everyone, connecting with us. Like, share, subscribe to Femi Lazarus Plus. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is Femi Lazarus Plus.